Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is a gorgeous afternoon. Wow. It's what, middle of November? 73 degrees. Ooh, I'll take it. Time to go out after work and take a nice dip in the pool. I mean, my goodness. It doesn't get any better than this. But we're going to be inside for the next 4 hours because I have a show to do and I want to bring you some great information. We'll start out, I think, with election 2024 because, look, I know that sometimes I bring you an election report and it's numbers, and numbers are sort of hard to follow on the radio. I get that. I try to come up with a simplified way to do it, and I've done that again. But ladies and gentlemen, I can't not start with these numbers because they lay out a story that I think is remarkable. And it also tells me that Biden's in such trouble that I just still do not believe the Democrats will stick with him as we move closer and closer into the election day 2024. These numbers, I can't see not even one glimmer of good news in all of this for Joe Biden. So allow me to do this. Just run through some of these numbers. There's a whole host of them that just came out. And each and every one of them is just, boy, Donald Trump must be smiling ear to ear with this stuff. And let me just go through it. I'll start. Big Fox News poll, a massive poll where they looked at a lot of different things. Okay, first of all, Fox says if the election were held today, and again, I know it's not being held today, and I know that, things can change, but this is a snapshot of where America is right now. That's all it is. And by the way, as I go through this, you'll see there's great consistency through a number of polls here. Trump versus Biden, Trump wins by 4 in a general election, according to Fox News. If you do the four-way analysis where you have, West thrown in there and Kennedy thrown in there, Trump wins by 6. If you substitute Manchin and get rid of West, Trump wins by 5. So, what they're looking at is a number of scenarios that could emerge with Trump as the Republican nominee and then a bunch of Democrats who are entering the race. Any way you look at it, Trump wins between 4 and 6 points in the lead nationwide. Here's another little glimmer, though, and listen, pay attention to this. If it were to be DeSantis versus Biden, according to Fox News, DeSantis would win by 5. And this is the remarkable number. If it were to be Nikki Haley versus Biden, Haley would win, according to Fox News, by 11. Yeah, I know. I just saw you go, damn. That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. You know why that is? Look, Trump, for all of his strengths, he has trouble with women. Haley, women like Nikki Haley. And then, Trump has some problem with the middle. And the middle likes Nikki Haley. Is she as staunch a conservative as, say, DeSantis is? Probably not. But in electoral college politics, Haley would slaughter, according to this poll, Joe Biden. It wouldn't even be close. 11-point win, that would be remarkable. Now, if you take Trump and you run him against some of the other Democrat candidates that might emerge if they dump Biden, which I think they will, Trump versus Harris, Trump wins by 5. Trump versus Newsom, Trump wins by 4. Interestingly enough, again, I think it's the women thing. Trump versus Gretchen Whitmer, Trump wins by 2. But Trump wins in all of these polls, and there's no good news in this for Joe Biden. DeSantis can beat Biden. Haley can slaughter him if these polls are correct. Okay, so that's the Fox News poll. There's other data to be gleaned from all that, but I'll stop right there. Let's look at a Marquette poll. General election, two-way race, Trump versus Biden. Marquette says Trump wins by 4. If it were to be DeSantis versus Biden, Marquette says that DeSantis would win by 2 points. If it happened to be Haley versus Biden, once again, Haley slaughters Biden. Haley picks up wins by 10 points. So in the Fox poll, it was 11, and in the Marquette poll, Haley wins by 10. That's pretty remarkable. Reuters. Trump versus Biden in a two-way race. Trump wins by 2, according to Reuters. In a three-way race where you add Kennedy to the mix, Trump still wins by 2. There's a consistent pattern to this, and let me just make sure you're following it. If anytime you go from a two-way race to what you're probably going to face is a 3 or 4-way or 5-way race, actually. It seems that Biden takes the brunt of that, and there's very little impact on Trump. Some, but not as much as Biden. Biden loses out the more candidates there are. Let's go to the Q poll. I told you about this one yesterday, but just for consistency's sake, let me give you this one. In a general election two-way, they have Trump winning by 2. In a three-way, when you add Kennedy, Trump wins by 1. In a 4-way, Trump wins by 3. That's the Q poll that came out yesterday. And this is just a remarkable number. I mean, when I heard this number, I went, wow. WJWTV in Ohio has conducted a poll of how it will shape up, Trump versus Biden in Ohio. In a two-way race in Ohio, Trump wins by 12. In a 4-way race in Ohio, Trump wins by 14. Astonishing. These numbers are just astonishing. I mean, there's a lot to read here, but I mean, the one thing that you didn't hear, there was not one case here in all of these polls where I said Biden wins by, because he didn't. There's not one poll where Biden survives, if these polls are correct. Now, look, I think that Democrats are not, I mean, every day this drumbeat, and believe me, you think I'm obsessed with polls. People in Washington and politicos, they're really obsessed with these polls. And if you're working for the Biden campaign right now, you've got to be like, oh crap, this does not look good. Well, and add to that the recent polls that say that Trump would win in 4 out of or 5 out of 6 battleground states, or 4 out of 6 battleground states. This has got to be incredibly troubling to Democrats. And they're, what do? They got this old, feeble man who is, just not able to put 2 sentences together, can't read a teleprompter, stumbles and fumbles and bumbles his way through every public appearance. And there was some of that in San Francisco yesterday. And on top of all that, he is widely seen as providing an economic calamity across the nation. The economy. Here are the disapproval numbers for Biden. You ready for this? This is from the Fox News poll. Men, 63% of men disapprove. 62% of voters under 45 disapprove of Biden's performance. Hispanic voters, 60% disapprove. Those with college degrees, now this is an area where generally Democrats do pretty well. 57% of those with college degrees that were surveyed disapprove of Joe Biden's performance in office. And even this number, most reliable demographic that Democrats can turn to, black voters, 41% of black voters disapprove of Biden's performance. In some polls, Biden is polling in with the positive support from as many as 22% of black voters, which really takes away from some of Biden's coalition that has put him in office in the last term. None of this is good news for Biden. Now, look, don't get me wrong. On a personal level, I hope the Democrats just keep plugging right along with Joe Biden. I mean, that would make me very, very happy. But I know how these people think. And as I listen to this and I go, my gosh, there is no way they're going to stand by Joe Biden. Now, how they engineer it, do they wait to the convention? Do they pull him out and have a frank discussion with him? Look, if he wants to stay in, Nobody can make him get out, but he will be driving the Democrat Party right down the toilet, and Democrats know it. And they're getting a bit antsy about some of these numbers. And okay, they say, well, I mean, you hear the argument, well, I know, but after he's convicted of this, that, or the other, Trump, well, then they will all change. They'll come swinging back. I don't think that's the case at all. And I'll tell you why. The more you attack Trump, the stronger he gets.
If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
He's like Obi-Don Kenobi. That's what I think. He's Obi-Don Kenobi. Also,
this is the way.
This is the way.
Yeah, that's just for me. Okay, so there you go. I mean, these numbers are remarkable. And Democrats are in a panic. And I just keep looking at these things and I say, when is that other shoe going to drop? When is it that the power brokers and the Democrat Party, the way they could do it is to withhold funding for Joe Biden? Well, I'm not going to give funding to somebody who has no chance of winning. That would be one very strong message. It could be that a Democrat will do pretty well in one of the early states. And that would be a message for Biden that he just doesn't have the support of the American people to go forward, or the Democrats to go forward. I don't know how it happens. It may happen all the way at the convention, where somebody says, look, if you nominate this guy to be your standard bearer, to run for re-election, you're going to be handing the election to Donald Trump. If they get there, maybe they do something there and pull a rabbit out of their hat somehow with some kind of leisure domain. I don't know exactly how you would do it, but I tell you, I don't know how they're going to do it, but I just cannot believe that Democrats will allow Joe Biden to become the nominee. On the other hand, if you're Donald Trump, you're looking at these numbers and going, wow, this is setting up nicely. This is looking real good. I don't know what to make about the Nikki Haley stuff. I mean, Nikki Haley, if anybody's got great numbers, I mean, Trump's numbers are good. Nikki Haley's numbers at this moment are unbelievable, just incredible. The idea that Haley could beat Biden by 10 or 11 points is it just defies explanation. So there you have it. I bring you the numbers. I understand that a lot of you don't buy into the numbers. A lot of you think numbers are a bunch of hooey, and that's all good and fine. But remember, if you look at numbers and say, number one, this is a snapshot of where things are today. No projection into the future. It's a long way to an election. If you look at them in that regard, and then if you also looked at them and say, what is the trend? The trend is the thing you always look for. And the trend is Trump up, Biden down. And there's just no way that you can look at these numbers and come away with any other conceivable explanation or analysis. So, Biden is living in la-la land because nobody's feeding him these polls. I don't think he's getting this information. I think he's living in a world where they don't give him bad news. They think they're protecting him, but all they're doing is they're pushing a candidate who is destined to fail down the road, and this is going to bear watching. And again, who will Democrats put forward? Who eventually emerges? Maybe we should have that conversation today again. Who do you think, if Biden is not the answer for Democrats, then who is? Maybe we'll ask that question a little bit later in the show. We've got a little room in the show for something like that. We'll do it. 21, call it almost 22 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. I want to talk to you today about gold. Gold has been used as money for millennia. It's a tried and true store of value and is consistent across generations. Some have observed that generational wealth has three components: land and art and precious metals. And, well, some of that can be hard to evaluate. But listen, precious metals like gold, platinum, and silver can be real practical solutions. Do you have gold that was given to you? You're not sure what it's worth, or you're just curious about metals and want to learn more? Well, listen, why don't you make an appointment to go see the people that I go see, the folks over at Nashville's Real Money Source, Nashville Gold and Coin. You make an appointment there. You go there for a one-on-one session, and you'll get a great education about precious metals. They can answer your questions, and they can set you up. By the way, if you have coins, like I had a bunch of old silver coins that were in a drawer, and I hadn't thought about them in years, I said, I'll just grab those and take them in. Come to find out, I had about $1,650 worth of silver coins sitting in my dresser drawer, and they were just collecting dust. It was quite a bit of surprise. So again, that's Nashville's Real Money Source, Nashville Gold and Coin. Set up your one-on-one appointment by going to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com.
My name is Angela Gones. I was addicted to pills for probably 15 years. I had lost my kids. I'd lost everything. I finally hit rock bottom. I graduated in December last year. I got her out. Got full custody, everything. I love working here. I get to give back what was given to me. What drew me to this place is most of the people here has been through this, so they can understand more. It helps so many lives. It gives us food. It gives us shelter. That's something that we didn't have when we came here. People here really care.
An armed suspect has now surrendered in Middle Tennessee, a homicide in Colorado Springs. And one of the biggest names in rap says he's given up one of the vices in which he's mostly closely associated with. That and more coming up, 3:30 Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
It's 27 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Hey, there's Mac Morey in the newsroom. Mac, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon.
It's good to see you there in the newsroom. And there's Chris Weber in the control room pushing all the blinky buttons. Hello, good afternoon to you, Chris.
Oh, hey.
Hey, hi there. Ho there.
Yes.
Yeah, boy, it's been an interesting day here around Stately Wilson Manor on this beautiful, beautiful fall day.
Okay.
Well, Cabana Wife is home today. And
so you've been doing honeydews, have you?
Oh, listen, let me tell you something. I used to be this way, and I'm not as much as I once was. I know that sometimes I get a head of steam up about getting something accomplished, and it's like, get the heck out of my way. I got to get this done. And, and I bulldoze my way through it. But I've gotten better about that over the years. I just don't feel that, oh, yeah, if I don't get it done today, I'll get it done tomorrow. I'm sort of a little more lackadaisical about it.
Yeah.
Well, we have a saying around here that, which I'll clean up a little bit, about Dawn being somewhat in GSD mode. Now, getting stuff done.
Oh, that's what the S stands for.
Well, no, it's not what it really stands for, but it's a family show, and I needed to clean it up. She's in that mode, and I've learned just get out of her way. That the one thing you say is, "Whatever you want to do, dear, that's just fine with me."
Yeah.
And can I please just sit over here and stay out of your way?
Out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really, I think, what she wants. But there's some things that she needs help with. Moving this and that around, and. You know what it's all about is that she's pulling Christmas trees down out of the attic. It's not even Thanksgiving yet. And she's pulling Christmas trees out of the attic, and she's going in full holiday mode. Listen, I'm telling you, when it's all over, it will be something to behold. There'll be something like 8 or 9 Christmas trees in the house. Well, you've seen it. You've been here to the house during the holidays. Yeah. It's quite a fantastic thing that she pulls off every year. And literally, I have these 2 huge storage areas. Huge. I mean, they're monstrous upstairs in this house, and they're just jammed with Christmas decorations.
And I'm sure, each year has to top the year before, right?
Of course.
Right.
So you add a little bit more each year as well.
Yeah. And so, the only thing she said to me was, no more inflatables. In other words, I got my 27-foot inflatable Christmas trees for the outdoors. Yeah. And she said, but you can't have any more. No more. Because she thinks the word that she uses, being from Michigan, is they look janky.
Okay.
All right. So I said, well... So I told her, I said, well, I did order something else for the outdoors. Is it an inflatable? I said, well, you'll just have to wait and see. She said, it's an inflatable, isn't it? It is. But then when I described to her my vision, and you'll have to wait. I want it to be a surprise when you guys come out to the house. But she was okay with it.
Oh, wow.
So I did okay.
Nice.
I said, you need to trust me. I hear you. And I'll just stand over here in the corner now and wait until you need me again. But, I mean, I'm telling you, get out of that woman's way. She is getting stuff done. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to go back over to the house after the show and find that, Christmas is thrown up all over the house. So there you go. That's been my day.
Sounds like fun.
Trying to stay out of her way when she's in GSD mode. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'll love it when it's all finished. And the good news is, my deal is, I don't have to decorate the trees, and I don't have to undecorate the trees.
Oh, wow.
That's a win.
Nice.
That's a win, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I know. Yeah. I negotiated that in the early days of the marriage. It's 31 past the hour now, 3 o'clock.
3:31, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 76 degrees right now in Nashville. Beautiful day, partly cloudy. Chance of showers later on tonight. Traffic and a weather forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, Channel 4 reports that an armed suspect has now surrendered. Police were searching for them for hours. It relates to yesterday. A Honda Accord was shot multiple times near Tusculum Court and Old Tusculum Road. No injuries were reported. You can stay with Super Talk 99.7 WTN for continuing coverage on this story. Over to Colorado, where one person is dead after a shooting outside the El Paso County Courthouse. This is in Colorado Springs. Alex Stone.
In what police are calling a homicide, a person was shot and killed outside of the courthouse in Colorado Springs, and an alleged shooter was arrested. But they say it was an isolated situation between 2 people and not a bigger threat. Ira Cronin with the Colorado Springs Police Department.
We have been able to rule out that this was an active shooter situation. This was not an active shooter situation.
The El Paso County Courthouse is closed for the day because of the shooting.
And some entertainment news. One of the biggest names in rap says he's given up one of the vices with which he's most closely associated. Jason Nathanson.
It's perhaps the most shocking story of 2023. Legendary marijuana smoker Snoop Dogg says he's done smoking weed. He posted on Instagram Thursday that, quote, "After much consideration and conversation with my family, I've decided to give up smoke." He added, "Please respect my privacy at this time." It's unclear if he's joking or being serious. At one point, Snoop admitted to smoking around 25 joints a day and even employed someone full-time to roll his blunts.
And personally, my prediction here, he comes out with a cannabis edible and calls it dog treats. That's the latest news. Weather and traffic next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Dr. Kevin Mitchell is my doctor. He can be your doctor. And if you've got pain in your back or your neck or your arms, you have a tingling or a numbness, if you have things that have been described to you as a bulging disc or a disc herniation or a spinal stenosis situation, you need to reach out to the Wellness Institute of Nashville. And you say, well, I don't know. That sounds expensive. No, really not really. To get started, it really is not that expensive. Dr. Mitchell and the Wellness Institute of Nashville, in this month of Thanksgiving, are thankful for you, and they want to share their feeling of goodwill by offering a very, very good special for the 2023 special, taking it to a new level. You ready for this? 2 patient appointments for $23. That's right. 2 exams, 2 x-rays, 2 treatments for you and your spouse, you and your friend, you and a family member, you and some random person you meet at the grocery store, maybe, in the parking lot outside. Just as long as you make your appointments together, you get the deal. And if you have any of these things we've been talking about, get started. I mean, really, get an early start so that next year is going to be a better year for you when it comes to back pain. If you're losing quality of life, not able to do the things that you want to do, take advantage of the Wellness Institute's 2 new patient exams, x-rays, treatment for $23. Here's the number, 615-246-5009. And again, the web address where you can learn more about all this is painisbad.com.
I love the state of Tennessee. I love everything about it, and I love hunting and fishing in the state of Tennessee, and what you guys do is so great. I was born and raised here, and this song is for Tennessee and everybody in it. Well, I have roamed across the land, and I have sailed deepest sea. When I've drawn my last breath, do this one thing for me. Say, won't you take me back to Tennessee, where southern streams are flowing free. Me and mine, Lord, will always be right at home in Tennessee. Right at home in the woods of Tennessee. Right at home in Tennessee. Awesome.
It's 39 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, in the chair and on the air on this 16th day of November, a gorgeous day. Still, even now, at 3:30 in the afternoon, 73 degrees in Bucolic, Watertown.
It's just too warm for me, Brian. I'm going to be honest with you.
I listen. I like these summer days. I mean these Indian summer days. Can you say Indian summer? I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel
probably
like
not.
I'm probably not allowed to do that anymore. But that's what we used to call them back in the day. The president, as you know, was in San Francisco meeting President Xi Jinping for another round of talks. Yeah, they got across this big table and they hashed out a bunch of stuff, Biden and Xi Jinping. And, well, at the end of it all, they came out with exactly what I predicted they would come out with, the low-hanging fruit. Listen, you got to understand that that when they set down a list of things they'd like to talk about, they throw in something like, something that'll be easy, something that, everybody can agree to, so that you can walk out at the end of the session and say, well, we made real progress. I mean, we did this and we did this. But those were the easy things. Those were the things that Xi Jinping was going to agree to anyway. And so that's exactly what happened. Okay, look, here is a story from the BBC. I just happened to see this story. 5 things we learned from the Biden-Xi meeting. There's some common ground on climate. Well, of course, Biden will roll over on anything when it has to do with climate because he wants to, suck up to the Green New Deal crowd. And here's the thing: is we will put restrictions on Americans that will hurt our businesses and hurt our economy. And the Chinese will promise to do it, but will not do it. They will not follow through. So, we actually, try to follow through on the commitments we make, and we pay a price for it, and the Chinese do not. They agreed to tackle fentanyl trafficking, and I'm glad to hear that. By the way, listen to this soundbite from Biden after the meeting with Xi Jinping. Yeah, he had a little conference with reporters, and he talked about fentanyl. How bad a thing it is in America today. It's the first time he's ever talked about it.
We're in a situation where we agreed that fentanyl and its precursors will be curbed substantially, and the pill presses. That's a big movement. They're doing and by the way, I guess I shouldn't identify where it occurred, but John, I know 2 people near where I live. Their kids literally, as I said, strange description, they woke up dead. Someone had inserted in, whether the young man did or not, inserted in a drug he was taking, fentanyl. Again, I hope you don't have any experience with knowing anyone, but this is the largest killer people in that age category.
Are you kidding me, Mr. President? You know a couple of people? This is happening all over the country. It's happening. Hundreds and hundreds of people are dying every day in America because of fentanyl overdoses. It's happening here in our own backyard here in Middle Tennessee to a large degree. It's happening in every major city in America. People are dying because of fentanyl. And now it's, well, I know a couple of people and they've had this bad experience. Well, I'm sorry for that bad experience. I truly am. I really, really am. But Mr. President, the reason fentanyl is a problem in America today is because you've left the borders wide freaking open. Oh, I can't believe that he doesn't understand this simple thing. It's astonishing to me. Well, now I know a couple of people and their kids died from fentanyl, so now it's a big deal. And this, we're really glad that we negotiated this deal. First of all, the deal that's negotiated with China, who knows whether China will try to help out or not. They've asked about this before, and China really didn't come through for them. So who knows if they're going to, if there's somebody in China who can make a buck by sending the precursor chemicals to Mexico so that the Mexicans can make the fentanyl and send it across the border, somebody will be providing that out of China. And I bet you it doesn't change a bit. I hope it does. I mean, I really do. I hope that they're successful, but I don't think it will. But this soundbite drives me beyond bonkers. That all of a sudden now, it's a terrible problem, which, by the way, you caused, Mr. President. 1,000%, it's your fault. If you had better control of the border, this wouldn't be near the epidemic it is today. And that he seems to be blissfully unaware of this is just ridiculous. There was another moment. I'll just play this here before too much time passes. Joe struggling with the teleprompter again.
Leading tech companies like Anthropic, and I'm going to mispronounce. I'm not going to even try. It's better not to try and not mispronounce than try and mispronounce. Leading.
Yeah, he can't get it.
Leading.
He can't get it. He can't even speak. I wonder, are they laughing with him or are they laughing at him in a situation like that? And then he said this, which, I don't disagree with the sentiment that he said. You have to listen carefully. Where after this meeting with Xi, where he comes out and says, "Oh, we made great progress," and my good friend, he actually on a national stage or a worldwide stage with everybody watching, called the man that he just met with a dictator. Now, I think that Xi is a dictator, but that was, in diplomatic circles, that would not be the polite thing to say after you've just met face to face with the man.
President, after today, would you still refer to President Xi as a dictator? This is a term that you used earlier this year.
Well, look, he is. I mean, he's a dictator in the sense that he is a guy who runs a country that is a communist country that is based on a form of government totally different than ours.
As soon as he said that, you could see there's a picture of Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State, shaking. He says, he didn't just call the man a dictator, did he? Well, I mean, again, I think it's right, but it's shocking that he would do that. And certainly the Chinese took full advantage of it and came after him on that particular matter. The other things that were accomplished in this meeting, again, low-hanging fruit. After a tense period, military communication will resume from China, and our military will again be talking to each other. In other words, they'll have a hotline. So the big accomplishment was he got a couple of promises out of Xi that he will not follow on climate and fentanyl, and they turned back on a phone. That's it. That's the end of it. Well, and talks will continue on the other more difficult issues of the day. This is, again, number one, if you made any progress at all in warming a relationship with China, which I don't think would necessarily be a bad thing. I know what the Chinese are, and you and I know what the Chinese are, but in the world economy, it's not a bad thing to have at least a somewhat workable relationship with somebody like China. But I mean, that's a desirable thing. But in the grand scheme of things, if you then turn around and call the man a dictator, have you just undone everything that you just did? I mean, if you are Xi Jinping, you would say no. That was we take back everything that hacked us off. So anyway, the man stumbles and bumbles and mumbles his way through another appearance on the world stage. He seemed once again. It's astonishing me. Tell me how it is that you come up a flight of stairs. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps maybe to a stage. And so that you're elevated above the crowd and you're looking down on the crowd. And so you come up about 5 steps and you just came up on that stage. There's one way on and one way off. And at the end of the speech, you look around like, where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? Somebody, could you tell me, what, go this way? Or do I go this way? He invariably cannot remember that he just came up the only flight of stairs on the stage. It's insane. This man is so bad. It's easy to look at these pictures and understand why Trump is kicking his butt in the polls. And again, I don't know how long Democrats are going to stand by this guy. 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. Let me tell you about Grace Point Healthcare. And the thing you need to think about this time of year as you are making decisions about your health care for the coming year. I mean, I know that a lot of people I had to make some decisions, and I see Martha is still on the TV. So I assume that, a lot of you out there have to make these decisions. Smart Care plans. Think about this. Grace Point Healthcare Smart Care plans start at $69 a month. And for that, you get unlimited office visits and free basic labs for the entire year. That's quite a thing, isn't it? For $69 a month. And because they treat the entire family, even newborns, they offer family plans as well. So if you take that Smart Care plan and you marry it with a high deductible insurance plan, the so-called catastrophic care plans, you could save you and your family a lot of money. At Grace Point, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same or next day. There are no long wait times or crowded wait rooms. They're treat naturally whenever possible. It's a military vet-owned practice. Just some of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider by Toast of Music City year after year after year. Now, if you think you've got COVID, you need to get by there. They do COVID testing. And by the way, they have some really good therapies that can get you back on your feet pretty quick and get you to feeling much, much better. Grace Point Healthcare is on Main Street in Franklin. Here's the number, 615-599-6868 to schedule a visit.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've had a financial radio show on WTN for over 20 years. But before that, for about the first 10 years of my career, I worked for a big investment firm. The name of the game was selling and getting assets under management. Then I was introduced to evidence-based investing, driven by academic research and not the sales process. 2 big revelations. One was that investing in the stock market wasn't a gambling adventure. I had never thought about it that way. Think about when we invest, you're just gambling your money away and just throwing it into the casino. Well, investing in stocks is really just owning companies. And you think about some of the most successful people in the world are business owners, and you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. It allows you to be part owner of the most successful companies in the world. The second had to do with how you were investing in those companies. In my former role, I was taught that my job was to use my skills to predict the future. Oh, crystal ball, what stocks or market segments are going to do best in the near future? If you listen to investing news sources and investment advisors, you'll find that making predictions is the rule rather than the exception. One recent study shows that 93% of professional managers underperformed the market over the past 15 years in their selection of large U.S. stocks. And it was over 95% that underperformed with small companies. Did you know that you could be tremendously successful as an investor without predicting the future? I believe the first step is education. However, it can't be just any education. We will help you understand what you're doing with your investments, why you're doing it, and what the basics are behind how things work. Then we make recommendations. I want you to be completely confident before you do anything. If that sounds like a winning game plan, set up a free 15-minute phone call at any of our 10 offices around Nashville. Go to paulwinkler.com to schedule a call today.
The body of a hostage found near a Gaza hospital, drag shows in Florida, Russian crime that's targeting free speech, and wildfires right here in the volunteer state. Those stories and more at 4 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, looking at the markets today, I would call it a rather lackluster day on the markets. The Dow Jones Industrial broke a 4-day winning streak today in the red by 45 points. S&P down 5, the NASDAQ up about 10. So, I mean, nothing really exciting to write home about there. John Maxon is standing by over at Beacon Capital Management with more on what is driving the market today. John, we had a really good rally going there, and today it came to a halt. What's going on?
Yeah, it's kind of flat today. I think that most folks feel like we're in kind of a Santa Claus rally headed into the end of the year. We'll see. The market was pretty flat, like you said. We did get some continued news that the Fed is going to like. The market, the labor market, is continuing to show signs of softening. Applications for unemployment benefits, which you think would be bad news, actually hit a two-year high today. And so you've got that along with U.S. factory production. That report came out, and that was slowing down along with home builder confidence. So all this continues, Brian, to feed into that narrative that reinforces what the market believes, that the Fed is done raising interest rates. So this continued hope of soft landing, and hopefully this rally will pick back up and finish into the end of the year.
All right. Thank you very much, John. And learn more about all the things that John and the folks over at Beacon can do for you by going to their website, askbeaconnow.com. It is 58 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock.
Four o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 75 degrees in Nashville. Possible chance for showers here tonight in the mid-state. Traffic and a weather forecast coming up in 5 minutes. IDF officials claim they have identified the body of a hostage they say was found inside the Gaza Strip during the IDF's ongoing ground operations. Patrick Reevell has the latest from Tel Aviv.
The IDF says they found the body of 65-year-old Judith Weiss close to the Al-Shifa hospital. They say that they found her in a structure, but they also found Hamas weapons, including RPGs. They say that her body was taken back to Israel and she was identified there. She's been kidnapped along with the other 239 hostages during the October 7th attack.
And this is the first body of a hostage that has been found by the IDF as far as we know. In Florida, they have a law targeting drag shows. It's still on temporary hold. The U.S. Supreme Court today refused a request to enforce it. Here's Andy Field.
Supreme Court justices voting 6-3 to stop Florida from enforcing a law that makes it a crime for a restaurant or bar to knowingly let a child into an adult live performance. That includes drag shows. 3 conservative justices, Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch, would have lifted that stay and let the Florida law take effect. All this does is let the lower court hear the case without immediately enforcing the drag show law.
Right now in Tennessee, a visitation service will be held today for Jillian Ludwig, the 18-year-old Belmont student who was tragically killed by a stray bullet while walking in the Edge Hill area last week. Suspect, 29-year-old Shaquille Taylor, has been arrested for the shooting. Nashville District Attorney Glenn Funk issued a statement saying Taylor was released from custody earlier this year after 3 court-appointed doctors found him incompetent to stand trial. Ludwig's parents are seeking justice for their daughter's death, and Ludwig is from New Jersey. That's where the visitation will be held. And a 33-year-old pacifist sentenced to 7 years in prison in one of Russia's highest profile cases, highlighting the country's crackdown on free speech. Dave Packer.
To protest Russia's war on Ukraine, St. Petersburg native Sasha Skochelenko swapped supermarket price tags with anti-war messages. A customer reporting the slogans to authorities shortly after a new law was adopted in Russia, effectively criminalizing any public expression of the war that deviates from the official Kremlin line. A Russian court Thursday sentencing Skochelenko to 7 years in prison. The pensioner who reported her to authorities seemingly surprised, telling a Russian news outlet, "For bits of paper, it should have been, of course, less."
And near 20,000 Russians have been arrested between February 24th, when the war began, and late October of this year for speaking out or demonstrating against the war, according to rights group OVD Info. Wildfires in Tennessee, entries into Dollywood were temporarily suspended today due to an active fire around 2 miles away from the park. Wednesday night, a brush fire broke out in the Sugar Mountain area near Pigeon Forge. There's an ongoing burn ban in Sevier County due to exceptionally low humidity and very high fire danger. Here in Nashville, a slight chance of showers tonight. More possibilities for rain will come tomorrow. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, on this 16th day of November, where we're kicking it. We're kicking it better than the folks over at the 5 on Fox do. I can tell you that for sure. I've just, during the commercial break, I've seen a really pathetic example of what happens when people from the East Coast come to Nashville. They try to do line dancing, and that doesn't go so well. And then they have to put on the obligatory cowboy hat and the obligatory cowboy boots, which, quite frankly, most people here in Middle Tennessee, we're not big on hats and boots. I mean, I wear boots, but a lot of people don't wear boots. And very few people, well, I guess I'd say maybe there's a smattering of people who wear cowboy hats. But it's not something you see every day. But they're out there, and there's something really sad about seeing. I like that Jesse Waters guy, but you put him in a cowboy hat and you put him in cowboy boots, and within a few seconds you realize this just never would work. It just doesn't work. And so, now they're on set. There are a ton of Fox people in town for the Patriot Awards today over at the Opry House. And welcome to Nashville. Glad that you're here. But again, you don't have to do the obligatory cowboy hat and cowboy boot thing. Really, honestly, it's okay. You don't have to. We'd be okay. I mean, we're just happy to have you. And we welcome you. You can go downtown and experience all the fun stuff that goes on down there. But, understand, it just doesn't work. When I worked at Fox, I always wore boots with my suits. I wore them every day. It's just part of, I thought, well, it's one thing about being from Texas that I'm going to keep with me. I love to wear a really great pair of cowboy. In fact, I have probably, 10, 11, 12 pairs of cowboy boots that I have, collected over the years. And I love wearing them. And so I remember the first time that I went to the mothership in New York. And, people were kind of curious there that work, the worker bees that were down in the basement, to people who put on all the shows to do the real work of Fox News behind the scenes. I walked in and I was sort of it's Brian Wilson from D.C. And then, and you'd go by a pod and you talk to these people on the phone, but you wanted to put a face with the name. And so I was, making my way through a room that's about as long as a football field. And I would stop at the first pod of people and introduce myself and talk. Well, they have a messaging system on their computer where they can all talk to each other. Everybody has a little handles, like a CB handle, and you can type out a little message. So when I stopped at the first thing, the word went out, you got to check out his boots. He's wearing the most amazing boots. And they were just black ostrich is all they were.
They had never seen a man with boots before.
Well, just that, that I would actually show up and I would be wearing boots and, and by the way, pulling it off magnificently. So I get to the second and they say, hey, show me those boots. And I'd pull up the hem a little bit so they could see, the real pretty part of the boot, which is the stitching, which is most often hid, and then by the time I got, halfway through, everybody was buzzing about the boots. And so I took it in a good-natured way. We had a lot of fun with it. And then, I go back to D.C. The next time I come, for one reason or another, I just decided to put on regular old-fashioned dress shoes. And I showed up down in the basement again and I'm walking by to say hello to people and catching up with folks that I talked to on the phone but didn't get to see that often. And they were completely upset that I had not worn the boots. I mean, they were really disappointed.
You'd set the bar.
I had set the bar and the expectation, and so they honestly they were very disappointed. So I made a point of whenever I went to New York on occasion, I had to go up there to the mothership. I would take out my flashiest, gaudiest pair of cowboy boots. I had some alligator boots, and I had some snake boots. I had some lizard boots, and I would, beautiful. And by the way, all of them very tasteful, not gaudy like gaudy snake boots. No. I mean, really beautiful snake leather, but it was done tastefully.
Oh, okay. I
That's
believe
right.
you.
Yeah. So, it's fun to watch them come here, but get a good pair of boots. Good pair of boots will last you forever. You can't destroy a pair of boots. Well, you can, but you can get them fixed.
That's true. Yeah.
I think I have almost every pair of boots that I've ever owned. I still have. Because
Wow.
I just go get them, worked on, and they come back looking just like new. Yeah. So, how about that? Well, welcome. We're glad to have you. I would go over and say hello, but I think the restraining order is still in effect. So I'm teasing. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the swamp, if we could. Some interesting stories here from the swamp today. Joe Biden is expected to face harsh criticism in the classified document probe. I mean, special counsel isn't likely to bring a criminal case over handling of records from Biden's time as vice president and his time in the Senate. I mean, that's interesting. Joe Biden, he had all these secret documents. Some of them were from the time of the Senate. Some of them were at his office, in Washington that he occupied after he left the office of the vice presidency under Obama. There were others that were found in the garage next to the Corvette. Yeah, right next to the Corvette. And then, they found them all over I think they found some at the beach house. They found them here, they found them there, they found them everywhere. And it was apparently pretty egregious stuff that he'd been holding on to. Look, a United States senator should never, ever, ever be in possession of top secret documents. And yet he had secret documents from the time when he was a sitting senator in the United States Senate. I mean, he was the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee at one point, but I don't understand why he would still have those documents, because when you're in the Senate and you want to look at a classified document, you go to a special room. It's a lead-lined room. You check your phone. You're not supposed to take any pictures. You're not supposed to take any notes. You go in. Somebody hands you the document. You read the document, you hand it back, and then you leave. That's the way it works. So how in the world did he end up with all these documents? It's pretty egregious stuff when you think about it. But apparently, according to the story here from the Wall Street Journal, the special counsel that's looking into the classified documents with Joe Biden is not expected to bring any charge. Now, it'd be a pretty harsh criticism. Oh, he's going to get harsh criticism. Oh, my. What, it was a letter in the file? Well, this goes on your permanent record. I mean, come on. Harsh criticism? This is a violation of the law. But I assume, we'll see, that what's good for the goose is good for the gander. What's good for the Biden is equally good for the Trump. So I don't expect that they're going to bring any charges against Trump on this. What do you want to think? We know, of course they will, because the deck is stacked. But anyway, they say that since his appointment in January, the special counsel in this matter, Robert Hur, has interviewed roughly 100 of Biden's aides, colleagues, and family members, including his son Hunter, culminating in a 2-day interview with the president last month. So a harsh letter to file, angry letter to be written later. Senator Ron Johnson is a guy who digs and digs and digs to find out what's going on out there, and he's pretty good. I like Senator Johnson and his doggedness. Senator Ron Johnson demanding an interview with a key health official, saying he's deeply concerned government officials may have destroyed responsive records on the origin of COVID-19. Johnson, a Republican from Wisconsin, demanded the Department of Health and Human Services make Dr. David Morans, a former aide to Dr. Anthony Fauci, available for an interview with his staff, and urged the HHS watchdog to take the matter seriously. I'm deeply concerned that HHS officials may have intentionally removed or destroyed responsive records on the origins of COVID or on other aspects of the pandemic. He wrote in a letter to HHS Secretary Xavier Becerra Wednesday, obtained by the New York Post. Underpinning Johnson's concern is a June 17th, 2022, June 17th, 2021 email sent by Morans, a 25-year National Institutes of Health veteran, to his colleagues about a request days earlier by Johnson for a group of documents about the NIH's handling of the COVID respiratory illness. I've tried to make sure I've retained no documents that might lead other members of the American Society of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene to be approached for a similar document production. In other words, I don't think there's anything to worry about because there is no there there. Well, is it because you got rid of the documents that there's no there there? Citing that email, Johnson concluded Morans may have intentionally deleted or destroyed records and directly obstructed oversight efforts. So we'll see how that goes. We'll keep an eye on that. Representative James Comer is investigating Hunter Biden and the Biden Incorporated businesses and trying to figure out exactly, how much money made its way from Hunter Biden's businesses to with these corrupt business leaders around the world, the real thugs of the business world, into the personal bank account of the then vice president, now president of the United States. And Hunter Biden, we are now told, will testify before the House Oversight and Accountability Committee by December 4th. Comer last week subpoenaed the first son and other family members and associates of President Joe Biden as the committee investigates alleged influence peddling. I'll tell you what you're going to get here. I know what you're going to get. Hunter Biden's going to come in, and he's going to have that bulldog of a lawyer, this guy named Abby Lowell, by his side. And Abby Lowell is going to do all the talking, because that's what Abby Lowell does. He's just going to talk and talk and block and block. And I bet Hunter Biden is not going to be allowed to answer any questions. And if he does, he'll probably plead the fifth. Comer says they're always going to try to blame it on Trump, somehow the money they've taken from China and Romania. But at the end of the day, we're ready to bring Hunter Biden because we have bank account records and we can connect the dots. Among the people subpoenaed to appear before the committee is entertainment lawyer Kevin Morris, who allegedly loaned Hunter Biden millions of dollars to pay back taxes. This Kevin Morris, the newest person that we're bringing into question, he's loaned Hunter millions of dollars to pay his IRS taxes back, and we believe he has a great deal of knowledge about the ongoing influence peddling scheme that was taking place as we speak with Joe Biden's president. So the Oversight Committee's obtained financial records that Comer said show that the Biden family set up more than 20 shell corporations, most of which were created when Joe Biden was vice president under Barack Obama, a concerted effort to hide payments from foreign adversaries. George Santos, the Ethics Committee in the House, will move to expel George Santos after releasing a damning report. He's from New York. He's a Republican. I haven't talked a great deal about it because I knew this was going to happen. And what the main thing you need to know is they don't have much of a margin for error in the House. They can only afford to lose about 3 votes. And so, it's 4 votes, and now it's 3 if they get rid of Santos. But the Ethics Committee released a damning report that accuses Santos of having used campaign funds for personal purposes and engaged in fraudulent conduct. So Santos is probably going to be expelled from Congress. And just to make a note of it, as I predicted, the House had passed the two measures that will keep the government running, part of the government running through January, part of the government running through February, and sent it over to the Senate. The Senate passed it as well. 87-11, 1 Democrat senator voted against the measure, and it keeps the government operating. This was not a big surprise. The fix was in. It will land on the president's desk, and he will sign it. He'll hold his nose. It didn't get anything that he wanted, but it was just a way to keep the government running. Look, I don't like the idea of CRs, but this one, it seems, we got to give them a pass on because they lost 3 weeks that they could have used to be doing this, trying to find a new speaker. It's not the new speaker's fault. And I think even though there were those in the Freedom Caucus who did not want to do this CR, they're not going to hold it against Johnson this time. If there's another one, could be a different set of kettle of fish. 22 minutes now, past the hour of 4 o'clock. Well, when's the last time you went to an auto repair shop? Did you find it stinky, smelly, greasy, old rags lying around, a countertop that you wouldn't even touch, with a 10-foot pole? Another thing that stinks are repair shops that keep your car forever. They are not honest, and they don't call you back when they say they're going to. If that was your last experience at a vehicle repair shop, well, why don't you check out Eurofix? Eurofix takes the stink out of European auto repair. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute, no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit, no high-pressure sales tactics. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair. And never pay dealer prices. Eurofix now in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and their newest location in Mount Juliet. Beautiful facility. Just call this number, 844-EUROFIX. That's 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com and tell them that your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson, sent you.
A conviction reached in the Paul Pelosi attacker case, election 2024 news, and the latest from Wall Street. I'm Mac Maury on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 26, let's call it 27 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk. We apologize if you're watching on Super Talk TV. Apparently, we're having some technical issues with the camera. We're making some adjustments to the system, and we've got our best people on it.
Top men.
Yeah, that's right. And so if it looks a little herky-jerky, then we apologize. It looks fine leaving here. That's what I can tell you. I want to talk a little bit about Israel, if I could, very quickly. But you know what? You've heard what's happening in Israel. Yes, they're going into that hospital. Yes, horrible things have happened there. They found a hostage who had been killed, apparently a member of the IDF. And they're continuing to try to find the other hostages in and around that hospital. And that's all happening. But in this country, we continually see a lot of protest, and last night it got ugly. 6 cops from the Capitol Hill Police Department. The Capitol Hill has its own police department. There are as many. Well, when we're at full capacity here in Nashville, we haven't been at full capacity in forever, but when we are at full capacity, there are as many police officers patrolling like a 5 square block area in downtown D.C., the Capitol Hill complex, Capitol Hill Police, as there are in all of Davidson County. Did you know that? Roughly. It's true. And so they're out there, and so they cover that complex, and just down the street and within sort of the confines of their few blocks of jurisdiction, are the DNC headquarters and the RNC headquarters. And a bunch of Israeli protesters who do not like the pro-Palestinian, anti-Israeli protesters showed up over there, and it turned into an ugly fray, and 6 Capitol Hill police officers were injured. That's how ugly it got. You know, you haven't seen a lot about that today. Apparently nobody got pictures of it. It happened very quick and was, by the way, put down pretty quickly by Capitol Police. But in the process, 6 officers were actually injured. Tells you a little bit about what's going on. Here it is. Hundreds of violent anti-Israel protesters clashed with Capitol Police Wednesday evening during a rally outside the Democrat National Committee headquarters, prompting its evacuation. Many wearing black shirts that read "Ceasefire Now" were also seen trying to grab hold of metal barricades as the officers rushed to make arrest. About 150 people were illegally and violently protesting outside the office, say Capitol Police. The department said the protesters deliberately attacked its officers, leaving several injured. 6 treated for injuries ranging from minor cuts to being pepper sprayed. That's right. The protesters had pepper spray, or being punched. One person has been arrested for an assault on an officer. We appreciate our officers who kept these illegal and violent protesters back and protected everyone in the area, the Capitol Police said. The Pentagon is quietly sending Israel more ammunition and missiles as a campaign against Hamas continues. Why does it have to be quietly? I'll tell you why. Because the Democrats have got a real problem here with these Palestinian protesters, many of them very young people who are upset with the administration. So the administration is trying to do, I think, the right thing by Israel, but their comments on the public record have been rather squishy and soft. And I don't know why that is. I mean, you know, pick your friends, pick your enemies. But they're just frightened to death that they're going to lose Michigan because so many Arab-speaking voters there in the state of Michigan are upset with the Biden administration right now, and they can't afford to lose Michigan. They can't afford to lose anything, although they're losing pretty badly, as we explained earlier in the program. 31 past the hour now of 4 o'clock.
31 minutes after the hour of 4 o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Currently 73 degrees right now. Possible for some showers in Music City. Full weather forecast. Latest traffic report headed your way in 5 minutes. The man who broke into former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's home last year in San Francisco and attacked her husband has been convicted by a federal jury. Alex Stone reports from California.
Guilty on both counts, assault on an immediate family member of a federal official and attempted kidnapping. The jury also found DePape used a dangerous weapon, a hammer in the attack. DePape showed no emotion in federal court as a verdict was read. His attorney put her hand on his shoulder to comfort him. He could get 50 years in prison when he's sentenced, and he also faces separate state charges. This week, DePape told the jury he broke into the Pelosi home after consuming right-wing podcasts and YouTube videos and had become angry over what he then thought were government and media lies.
And he said his goal was to hold and interrogate Nancy Pelosi about those lies. Election 2024, a new CNN poll shows former President Trump holds a significant lead in the New Hampshire GOP primary, while Nikki Haley has moved into second place. 42% say they'd vote for Trump, followed by Haley at 20%. Now over to the Monday News, Daria Albinger.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Stocks closed mixed as the momentum begins to stall after a first hot half of November. The Dow gave up 45 points. The Nasdaq added 10 for the session. The S&P closed up 5. The markets were rattled by some unnerving earnings from Walmart and Cisco Systems, but they're holding on to most of their big gains so far this month. Walmart dropped more than 8% after warning shoppers began pulling back on spending late last month. Cisco tumbled 11.5%, even on strong earnings than expected. Workers at more than 200 Starbucks stores across the U.S. walked off the job on the company's annual Red Cup Day. It's the largest strike in the 2-year effort to unionize the coffeehouse chain stores. First-time jobless claims rose by 13,000 last week. That's the most in 3 months. United Auto Workers Union members voted to approve a new contract at General Motors. It makes the company the first of Detroit's big 3 automakers to seal a ratified deal.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, here's a question for you. Do you have replacement cost coverage on your roof? If the answer is not yes, then you don't. This means the insurance company will depreciate how much they pay for your roof claim if you have one, potentially leaving you with thousands of dollars of out-of-pocket expenses. See, this is the kind of question that you won't get if you're dealing with one of those big box insurance companies, you know, the ones that you can only get insurance on the internet. Well, you should go to King & Associates Insurance in Brentwood. They've been there 25 years, an independent agency with a great reputation. And they ask you those kinds of questions and gift you the kind of coverage that you really need. Coverage that, by the way, will probably be a lot better and maybe, if everything goes well, I mean, it usually does, a lot cheaper than what you're paying right now. See, the thing about an independent agency is that they can shop around. They're not pushing a square peg into a round hole. They can actually go to a number of different companies to find that policy that really, really meets your need. Here's another reason why an independent agency like King & Associates is a way to go. If you call their number, 615-329-8121, guess what? You're not going to get like a recording. You're not going to get a phone tree. You're not going to have somebody say, please stand by. Your phone call is important to us. No, you'll get a person. An actual human being will answer the phone and take care of your question and point you in the right direction. Multi-policy discounts can save you a lot of money, and they are the master of that. 20, 25, 30, 35% savings. So listen, why don't you get your royal review with King & Associates Insurance? Log on to tkinginsurance.com. That's tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance & Associates, royal treatment and really good rates. $39, make it 40 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk. There's a little Tennessee news. You know what? There's some meanness out there on the highways and byways. Did you hear this story? I found it on the Fox 17 website. A Tennessee highway trooper, highway patrol. He's driving along, taking I-440, headed over toward I-24 East. He sees a vehicle tailgating another driver, according to the report. He turns on the flashing red lights and the blue lights, and the suspect vehicle initially accelerated, but eventually slowed down on the right shoulder and stopped. So he approaches the car, notice the car is not in park. And he says, as he approached the car, he noticed there was, quote here, overwhelming odor of marijuana coming from the vehicle. He said the driver's eyes were red and watery. According to the arrest report, the trooper asked the driver to exit the vehicle. The trooper wrote, due to the driver's continuously reaching with his left hand to the bottom of the driver's seat, well, that's not a good sign. If you're a trooper, you see that, you got to be nervous. I opened the driver's side door and reached into the vehicle to turn it off. The vehicle eventually stopped. He said the driver placed the vehicle into drive and started to drive off with me hanging out of the vehicle. Yikes! I held on to prevent being run over as the driver fled the scene of the stop. That I made attempts to place the car into park. He's being dragged. His feet are being dragged, and he's trying to get one hand up there to shove the thing up into park so that it comes to a screeching halt. And in the process, you get the vehicle to stop. He said the vehicle eventually did stop. There was a struggle between the arresting trooper and the driver. The trooper said the suspect managed to drive eastbound again, accelerating at greater speeds, to which point I was able to pull my legs into the vehicle and steer the wheel to the right where it collided with a concrete wall, the so-called safer barriers. The suspect, identified as Michael L. Moore, was finally placed under arrest during the struggle. The trooper reportedly found, and this is the scary part, a handgun under the corner of the driver's seat. He was reaching for the gun. Moore is facing multiple charges, including aggravated assault, unlawful carrying of a firearm, unlawful possession of a controlled substance, and other drug charges. The trooper, we're happy to say, is okay, but what a story he had when he went home at the end of the day. I mean, there's such meanness out there. I mean, really, honestly, it's scary. This story, I read you this story because we had another thing. I told you the story the other day, and at the Mount Juliet, there in Providence, at the big shopping center in Mount Juliet, at the Target parking lot, some guy is set up a meeting. He was going to, I guess it was a Facebook marketplace sale of a weapon of some kind. One way or the other, they're supposed to meet up in a public place. The guy's going to sell a weapon, one guy to another. And what he found was it was an ambush. And it turned into a full-on, like, gun battle there in the parking lot of the Target. Bullets flying everywhere. It's a miracle nobody got hit. There's a little Red Robin sort of restaurant over there. Bullet went through a glass over there. There was a couple of police officers having a dinner, in the evening, afternoon, lunch, something. And they run over to find out what's going on. But this one is the same kind of deal. A father pistol whipped in front of his children during a Facebook marketplace exchange. They've arrested a man accused of pistol whipping a father in front of his family during what was supposed to be a Facebook marketplace exchange. June 6th, around 9 p.m. This happened a while back. A man and his wife, 3 kids, went to the parking lot on 2464 Couchville Pike for a Facebook marketplace exchange. When they got there, the seller got out of the car to meet the victim. When the police say another man named Robin Weatherall, age 18, who was the seller, pointed a gun at the victim, according to the report, Weatherall allegedly pistol whipped the victim in the back of the head while the family remained in the car. Weatherall began demanding money, told the victim and the alleged seller to get on the ground. The victim started to record parts of the robbery with her phone. At one point, Weatherall took one of the victim's cell phones and stomped on it. Weatherall went through the wife's purse and got a close-up video of the suspect's face during that time. Weatherall stole $700 in cash from the victim before driving away with the alleged seller. Now, look, these Facebook marketplace exchanges, if you don't have a lot of confidence in the who you're dealing with, do this exchange in the parking lot of the police department. They won't show up if they're bad guys. They're not going to pull that stunt right in the police station parking lot. So the police don't mind. Just go up, stand near the counter, say, "Hey, look, I got a guy coming in, Facebook thing." They understand. So that's what I would do. I mean, that's scary stuff, isn't it? Tennessee teacher, a principal, faced charges over a paddling at school. This is from the Tennessean. 2 Middle Tennessee educators are facing assault charges after paddling a student last month, shining new light on the controversial topic of corporal punishment. Jackson Patterson, age 39, Tina Lynn, 54, both of Jackson County. That's to the northeast of Nashville, arrested November 7th after a grand jury returned charges of simple assault against Patterson and criminal responsibility of assault against Lynn earlier the same day. Jackson County borders Macon and Smith counties, was home to 11,600 people. The charges against Patterson, a teacher, and Lynn, an assistant principal, stem from an October 4th incident at Dodson Branch Elementary. There was a TBI investigation. Jackson County Sheriff's Office and the Tennessee Department of Children's Services all got involved. Showed that the Dobson Branch Elementary student had been paddled twice by Jackson when Lynn was present. TBI press release said it also noted the student complained of pain afterwards. I never thought of this approach when I was in high school. I mean, really, honestly, I remember it as if it were almost yesterday. You know, you'd get D-Hall. And, you know, if you could get D-Hall for, like, talking in class. I once picked up a piece of fuzz on the floor and took it to the trash can and got D-Hall.
You didn't get permission to get out of that seat.
I didn't have permission to pick up fuzz and put it in the trash can. Mr. Wilson, that's it. And so D-Hall was you stayed after class. You had to sit in an area that was supervised by a teacher. You couldn't say one word or you'd get another day D-Hall. You had to sit there for an hour after school. Well, if you had a part-time job, that just wasn't possible, right? You have an obligation. You had a commitment. And I always had an after-school job. So I was trying to figure out, you know, what do you do? So I said, I went to see the assistant principal, Cactus Jack Crawley.
Ooh.
Yeah, this guy was tough. Ex-Marine, tattoos on his arm. Had literally one of those paddles with holes drilled in it that you always heard about. He really had one.
And he took great pleasure in using it, I bet.
Oh, he loved to administer lick. And so the deal was, if you can't stay for D-Hall, 3 licks. And so you'd go in and said, you know, Mr. Crawley, I can't stay. I have a job, so I'll have to take my licks for, you know, for talking in class or something, or picking up a piece of fuzz. It's ridiculous. And you'd go in there and you'd bend over and grab the chair in front of you. You had to bend over about 3/4 of the way, you know, and then you would wait and you would wait, and then nothing would happen. And then just about the time you turned and you tightened those muscles to turn around, bam! And he'd lift you about 3 inches off the ground. And I mean to tell you, he was murderous with that paddle. I never knew. I could just say, hey, this is assault. I'm calling the Department of Child Services. You know, we didn't have that, I think, when I was a kid. 3 licks, man. I'm telling you, you were hurting. I always wanted to have the guts to go in there and say, "May I have another, sir?" But I didn't. But after three licks, I didn't want any more. Please. And you know, and the good thing about it was, if you had D-Hall, your mom and dad would find out about it. But if you got 3 licks, they never were the wiser. Unless they happen to notice the bruising later. Oh, my gosh. A little bit of good news to sort of cleanse the palate here. Arnold's Country Kitchen is going to reopen. The beloved Meat and 3, Arnold's Country Kitchen, is making a comeback, at least temporarily. Sign there will be more of the Southern staple to come. It's been a year since customers walked through the doors of the famed red brick building on 8th Avenue. And they're doing it for Thanksgiving, but there's some indication that they may come back. I hope they do.
Nice. Yeah.
I would love that tradition to continue. Really would be a great thing. It's one of those things that, when I first came to town, I was taken over to Arnold's for my first experience. And, you never know who you're going to run into when you went to Arnold's. It was a great experience. And so I hope it does come back. And the indications are the family is ready to reopen. So we'll see how that goes. 50 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've had a financial radio show on WTN for over 20 years. But before that, for about the first 10 years of my career, I worked for a big investment firm. The name of the game was selling and getting assets under management. Then I was introduced to evidence-based investing, driven by academic research and not the sales process. 2 big revelations. One was that investing in the stock market wasn't a gambling adventure. I had never thought about it that way. Think about when we invest, you're just gambling your money away and just throwing it into the casino. Well, investing in stocks is really just owning companies. And you think about some of the most successful people in the world are business owners, and you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. It allows you to be part owner of the most successful companies in the world. The second had to do with how you were investing in those companies. In my former role, I was taught that my job was to use my skills to predict the future. Oh, crystal ball, what stocks or market segments are going to do best in the near future? If you listen to investing news sources and investment advisors, you'll find that making predictions is the rule rather than the exception. One recent study shows that 93% of professional managers underperformed the market over the past 15 years in their selection of large U.S. stocks. And it was over 95% that underperformed with small companies. Did you know that you could be tremendously successful as an investor without predicting the future? I believe the first step is education. However, it can't be just any education. We will help you understand what you're doing with your investments, why you're doing it, and what the basics are behind how things work. Then we make recommendations. I want you to be completely confident before you do anything. If that sounds like a winning game plan, set up a free 15-minute phone call at any of our 10 offices around Nashville. Go to paulwinkler.com to schedule a call today.
A 4-hour barricade situation now over with a suspect in custody, a 9-vehicle car crash, dangers of Facebook Marketplace, and some consumer news that you need to know. 5 o'clock, all right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 57 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to be doing a deep dive on the latest 2024 numbers. Now, when you see these numbers, you're going to be shocked, stunned, and amazed. There is great news for Donald Trump, horrific news for Joe Biden, and surprisingly, the best news of all is for Nikki Haley. What's that all about? I'll explain. Also, Mac Maury's Wide World of Sports, and we're going to open the phone lines. I have a question for you about the 2024 elections. That'll be in the second half hour. The question will be, if not Joe Biden, who will Democrats put forward? But we'll do that coming up in the next hour. It's 58 minutes past the hour now of 4 o'clock. All right, how are you faring in this rough and tumble market? The experts at Beacon Capital Management understand it could be a little scary, but here's the thing. Beacon Capital Management has a plan to assess where you are and then help you make any small mid-course corrections that might be needed to make sure that you arrive at retirement time with all that you need to retire comfortably. Wouldn't it be great to have peace of mind that you're on the right path? Beacon can provide that reassurance. It starts with a simple phone call to this number, 615-488-9303. Now, the experts at Beacon will take it from there. I mean, what do you have to lose except for all the worry? Get started today by calling the number, 615-488-9303. At the end of the process, you'll be able to rest easy knowing you have a plan that meets all your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence that you're on the right path. The number 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away. And you can learn more at their website, askbeaconnow.com.
Five o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Currently 72 degrees on Music Row. We got a traffic report and the latest weather forecast on the way in 5 minutes. A suspect now under arrest after officials say that he fired several rounds at a car, which led to a standoff in Nashville. This was after 4 hours. A barricade situation now over. Channel 4's Jordan James.
Around 10:30, Metro Police say they received a call about shots being fired at the intersection of Old Tusculum Road and Tusculum Court. When they got there, they found a vehicle shot out. A woman told officers that she got in a fight with an acquaintance when they started wrestling over a pistol. She managed to get the gun away. He then retrieved an assault rifle and opened fire, missing her, then proceeded to barricade himself inside of a home.
And the suspect ultimately surrendered, was taken to a precinct station to be questioned further. A crash in Tennessee. Channel 4 reports that 9 cars were involved in a collision yesterday on I-24. A toddler survived in the crash. Officials say it was more than likely because that child was in a car seat. The crash happened in Pleasant View, and the fire department there offering a seat installation course for anyone who wants it on Saturday. Crime in Nashville, a suspect in custody 5 months after a father was pistol whipped in front of his family during a Facebook Marketplace exchange.
Channel 4 says the man and his wife and kids pulled up in a parking lot on Couchville Pike around 9 o'clock the night of June 6th. The father got out of the car while his wife and kids stayed put. The seller got out of his car, and so did 18-year-old Robin Weatherall. Police say all of a sudden, Weatherall pulled a gun and started hitting the father in the back of the head and demanding money. Police say the victim's wife started recording it on her cell phone, got a close-up of Weatherall's face when he started rifling through her purse. $700 cash was stolen before police say Weatherall and the seller drove away. Now, 5 months later, police say Weatherall was arrested yesterday and booked on 2 counts of aggravated robbery. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
In some consumer news you need to know, 27 more eye drop products are voluntarily being recalled for the risk of infection. The FDA says it found these products to be linked to insanitary conditions. The brands in question include CVS Health, Leader, Rugby, Rite Aid, Target's Up and Up, Velocity Pharma, and Walmart, with lot numbers and expiration dates between November 2023 to September 2025. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather upcoming. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
7 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. Brian Wilson in the chair, on the air, bringing you news and information again so that you arrive home or wherever it is you're going this evening well informed. We'll have talking points that you can bring to the dinner table. That's exactly what we try to do every day. And we're going to start with the 2024 election and some astonishing numbers that are out there. If you have not seen these numbers, wow, they're astonishing. Listen, I know that sometimes you think, well, Wilson, you just love to look at them poll numbers, and I do. And I understand what polls are. They are a snapshot in time. They are a not an indication of where things will end up, but where they are at the moment. And most importantly, they can tell you if there's a trend out there. And there is definitely a trend. It is good for Donald Trump. It is extremely bad for Joe Biden, which leads me to my larger point is I just don't think the Democrats will actually nominate this guy. And later in this hour, after we do Mac Maury's Wide World of Sports, we're going to ask you the question. If Democrats decide to dump Biden, who do you think they'll choose? I just love to know your thinking on it right now. But let me give you these numbers because I'm telling you, you're going to be shocked, stunned, and amazed. There is definitely a trend. Something has broken loose in these numbers. And there is not, I mean, you can look high, you can look low, you can look sideways, you can look askance. You can look at it any way you want to look at it. You can look at it upside down. You're not going to find one thing in here that's good news for Joe Biden. An awful lot of good news for Donald Trump and surprisingly, really, really excellent news for Nikki Haley. Okay, so if that's not enough of a tease for me, I don't know what. Fox News just did a big poll. It's an extensive poll, and they look at the 2024 races. And here we go. You ready for this? If it is a two-way race between Trump and Biden, which it really won't be, but it is an interesting thing to see which of those two guys have got the juice. If it were a two-way race, Trump would win over Biden by 4 points. If you add, make it a four-way race with people like West and others, in there, West and Kennedy and what have you, Trump wins by 6. If you add Manchin in that mix, Manchin's not an announced candidate, but he might be, Trump still wins by 5. So that's in the general election. Trump wins by 4, 5, or 6, depending on the mix of candidates. Pretty amazing. Here's another little interesting fact. If for some reason Trump does not become the nominee and the nominee is Ron DeSantis, he would beat Biden at this point by 5 points. You say, well, that's pretty good. But wait, there's more. This is astonishing number. This one just, I look at it and went, are you sure? But I am pretty sure because it replicates itself in other polls. If Nikki Haley is the nominee, and were to go directly against Biden, Haley would win by an astonishing 11 points, according to this poll. Now, why is that? Why is it that Trump wins by, in a good case scenario, 6, but Haley would win by 11? Well, Trump has one weakness, women voters. Women, by and large, I'm talking, certainly there are women supporters who support Trump, but he has trouble. His numbers are often low with women and strong with men. Haley brings in the women vote. And I think Haley is somebody who would be looked at favorably by those in the mushy middle. So, she would pick up 11 points over Biden. It would be a thrashing. Now, I don't know that Haley can get the nomination. But when you see those kind of poll numbers, it makes you wonder if something should happen to Trump, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think Trump will be the nominee. But Haley is standing there, and she can win handily, according to the polling data that I've seen, not here, but a couple of places. Now, let's say for a moment that my scenario, my guess is correct, and that Joe Biden is not going to be the nomination of the Democrat Party. Trump would still beat Harris by 5. Trump would beat Newsom, according to Fox News, by 4. Trump would beat Gretchen Whitmer by 2. Again, I think it's that women's vote thing that makes that number get a little tighter. But one way or the other, there's not anything here that looks bad for Trump. There's a little bit of good news for DeSantis, some great news for Nikki Haley, but no good news anywhere in any of that for Joe Biden. Okay, so you say, well, that's just one poll, Brian. Okay, let's go to Marquette. Marquette has a new poll out. If it's Trump versus Biden, Trump wins by 4, according to Marquette. If DeSantis is the nominee and that goes against Biden, DeSantis would win by 2. And here again, the numbers for Nikki Haley. If it was Haley versus Biden, Marquette University says Haley would win by 10. Wow. In one poll, she wins by 11. In the other poll, she wins by 10. Now, what do I see in that? I see consistency between 2 very different polls. One from Fox News, one from Marquette. Okay, so we continue. Oh, wait. I'm not even started. I'm not even getting started yet. Reuters, brand new poll. Trump versus Biden, Trump wins by 2. If you add a 3-way, to say it's Trump versus Biden versus Kennedy, Trump still wins by 2. I want to mention something here about when you add like 3 or 4 or even 5 candidates into the mix, it really seems to hurt Biden more than it hurts Trump in most cases. Trump still prevails, and Biden falls further behind. General 2-way election. This is a Q poll, came out yesterday. I talked about it briefly yesterday. General election 2-way, Trump wins by 2. The Quinnipiac poll says that if it's a 3-way involving Kennedy, Trump wins by 1. If it's a 4-way race with Kennedy and others, Trump wins by 3. Again, the third and fourth party candidates seem to really hurt Biden more than they hurt Trump. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? And again, here's another thing from the Fox News poll. They look at where are the disapproval ratings for Joe Biden, because that's what's driving it. People don't like Joe Biden. They don't like his economy. They don't like, what's happening on the southern border. They don't like the fact that he's got us entangled in a couple of wars since he became president. There's a whole lot of things out there they don't like about Joe Biden. His disapproval ratings among men, Joe Biden's disapproval rating, 63%. Voters under 45, that's been a very good demographic for the Democrats. 62% of them disapprove of Joe Biden's policies and the way he's performing his job. 60% of Hispanic voters disapprove of Joe Biden's performance. Those with college degrees, again, Democrats generally do very well in that demographic. 57% of those surveyed said they disapprove of Joe Biden's performance thus far. And the most reliable demographic of voters for Democrats has been black voters. 41% of them say they have a real disapproval of Biden's performance thus far. By the way, Trump is picking up black support somewhere in the range of 20, 21, 22% in a lot of the polls that I've been looking at, which is remarkable, very remarkable. Kennedy, a factor out there, I think. I mean, he could take 22, 23% of the vote, but, some of it comes from Trump, but some of it comes out of Biden's hide. But at the bottom, at the end of the day, Trump still wins in any matchup involving Kennedy. Wow. So, look, I've just given you 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, by the way, one little more. This is just a small poll out of Ohio. WJW-TV in Ohio did a poll about how would a general election matchup fare there if the election were held today. Trump would win by 12 in Ohio. Wow. He would win by 14 if it's a 4-way race. So these numbers look really, really good for Trump. I mean, everything I've given you here, it's all good for Trump. A little good news for DeSantis, a little bit good news for Haley. But really, Donald Trump is poised. If the election were to held today, he would win, and it would be a pretty substantial win. We saw a poll yesterday that did a look at the Electoral College vote, and by the Electoral College numbers, it would be a landslide. the way it looks and the way it's shaping up right now. Again, we're not in election day. A lot can happen between now and then. Who knows how it'll all happen? But it drives home the point for me that I just keep coming back to. Now, I want Joe Biden. I don't want anybody, when I say this, to get the wrong idea. Everybody says, well, why do you keep talking about this? Because, don't talk about it. Well, look, there's nothing I'm going to say from my vantage point here that is going to even be noted by the Democrats. The Democrats don't have to hear it from me because they know it. They know that this guy is going to lose. And that's why they're freaking out. I mean, these numbers that came out today have got to be very concerning for the Democrats, which brings me to my larger point is I don't think Joe Biden's going to be the nominee. I don't think it will be. I don't know who it's going to be, and I don't know how they engineer it. I haven't quite figured out that part of it, but I just know this. The Democrats will not knowingly nominate a man that is going to lose to Donald Trump, and all the polls indicate he's in real trouble against Trump right now. Real trouble. And Biden seems to be blissfully unaware about how bad his situation is because they don't tell him. I don't think they share this stuff with him. And I don't think he looks it up on his own. I don't think he's smart enough to do the analysis if he did, or if he was ever smart at one point. He's lost that intellect. He's living, well, in denial of what the numbers really show. I mean, Peter Doocy tried to ask him a question about this the other day, and he jumped right down Peter Doocy's throat saying, well, you're looking at the wrong polls, Jack. That's a paraphrase, but that's what, essentially what he said. They're not going to nominate Joe Biden. And I'd be shocked, stunned, and amazed if they nominate Kamala Harris because her numbers are worse than his. So, we're going to ask the question here in a bit. We're going to open up the phones in the second half of this hour after the news, and I'm going to ask you that question. If they get rid of Biden, which I just got to believe they will somehow find a way to ditch Biden as the nominee, who will the Democrats put forward? What do you think their scenario is? We'll take those calls coming up just a little bit later. But look, I'm telling you, they have got to be in panic mode over there. And for Donald Trump, nothing but good news. Wow. If you're Donald Trump, you're on top of the world right now. You look at it and say, look, they throw everything in the world they can at me. It doesn't matter because the more they throw at me, the stronger I become.
If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
That's right. He's Obi-Don Kenobi, and his numbers are just shaping up beautifully. Again, early. I hear all the caveats. I played them all down here. But at this moment, this thing is shaping up pretty good for Republicans and really disastrously for Democrats. 20 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk. Genesis Diamond's biggest and last sale of the year is here this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and they're going to be actually open on Sunday. You've been hearing about this. It's an extraordinary event with savings up to 35% store-wide. Rings, earrings, pendants, bands, bracelets, nothing held back for this once-a-year, 3-day store-wide event. Acclaimed designers are here with expanded collections and special pricing. It's a massive jewelry trunk show with a lot of new items never seen before. California and New York designers are here showing off the good stuff. Get across-the-board savings from wedding bands to engagement rings to fashion earrings and bracelets. Shop early for Christmas and don't miss these prices. Plus, get 0% interest financing. You can't beat that. And yes, luxury pre-owned Rolexes included. Genesis has a fantastic collection of really hard-to-find Rolex watches in pristine condition. And lab-grown diamonds also included. So when Genesis Diamonds has a sale, you know it's the real deal. Extreme values at this once-a-year event just in time for Christmas, the biggest and last store-wide sale of the year. It's this Friday, Saturday, and yes, open Sunday for this incredible event. Genesis Diamonds, 2 locations, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
We now know the substance that was exposed to at least 10 people at the Williamson County Jail, drag shows in Florida, and visitation plans for the Belmont student who was killed by a stray bullet. Those stories and more 30 minutes after the hour of 5 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, it's time.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
That's right. It's time for Mac Morey's wide, wide world of sports. Now, here is the host of our program. You know him, you love him, you can't live without him. Mac Morey, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo! Hello.
Yeah. Well, again, it's. I never get that kind of response from my segments. I don't know. So
the crowd loves it, man.
They do. Listen, I learn something from you every time I come on and listen to you. I really do, and that's why I want to continue to do it. So I didn't get the memo today. So what are we talking about?
I sent you the text this time. I
swear
did you?
I did. I must have missed it.
So this is, Brian, I've heard you on this program during news portions of the show talk about how journalism, true objective journalism is dying, right, in the news world. I mean, those true reports where you know that they're coming at it from an objective point of view.
It's rare. I'll put it that way.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's increasingly rare.
Harder to find. Well, that is not unique, apparently, to just the news world. It's now leaking over into the sports world. This is a story that came out today about Carissa Thompson. She used to work with ESPN and stuff. She's now on Fox Sports. But she admits she was a sideline reporter, and I'll just let her tell you what she used to do sometimes on her sideline reports.
And I've said this before, so I haven't been fired for saying it, but I'll say it again. I would make up the report sometimes because A, the coach wouldn't come out at halftime, or it was too late. And I was like, I didn't want to screw up the report. So I was like, I'm just going to make this up because first of all, no coach is going to get mad if I say, hey, we need to stop hurting ourselves. We need to be better on third down. We need to stop turning the ball
Pressure
over.
the quarterback.
Exactly. and do a better job of getting off the field. Like, they're not going to correct me on that.
Right.
So I'm like, it's fine. I'll just make up the report.
Wow.
Yeah. Just openly, no shame at all, just saying, this is my job. I'm the one person in the world that gets to go talk to these coaches with millions of listeners saying, hey, and fans of the team saying, okay, what's my coach thinking right now? And you're lying.
There's an easy way around that. I mean, you simply say, the coach didn't stop to talk to me today. He's apparently not in a good mood at halftime. But, any observer of sports could tell you that what needs to happen next is, and blah, blah, blah. And then throw those out as on your own authority. Without, but you don't make up that I didn't talk to the coach, so I'm going to make it up.
Yeah. You're exactly right, Brian. You could have just said, I didn't get the chance. They're super busy. He seemed really heated on the sideline. But I know they're struggling on third down right now. 2 for 10. Just have 2 stats ready. I mean, it's 45 seconds. But instead, no, just openly lying about reports that come out on the sideline. I mean, the one person that actually gets that opportunity and completely blowing it away. And now you have people saying, is this okay? I mean, is that normal? But luckily, fortunately, a bunch of reporters, sideline reporters on Twitter are coming out and saying, no, this is not okay. That's not what the job's supposed to be.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, literally, that's what you're being paid to do, is to be on the sideline to talk to the coaches.
And to the players.
Yeah.
That's right. It doesn't have to. If the coach doesn't talk to you, there's got to be some player that you can talk to on the way off. I mean, I don't understand that at all.
That's right. You've been on the scene of reports, and there's been multiple times, I'm sure, where you weren't able to talk to the exact source, the chief of police, or whatever it may be. So you go get another source, go get an assistant coach, go get a player, go get, there's so many opportunities to do something, to bring something to light, and instead
look,
just lying.
You're on the sidelines. You have you're a witness to things that most people cannot see.
Yeah.
You can watch heated conversations between 2 players. You can see somebody come limping out of the tent. I mean,
Yes.
Any number of things that you could talk about if you're just got your eyes open and looking and trying to look at it from an objective standpoint. Walk away with 2 nuggets. I'm telling you, those sideline reports are not that dadgum long to begin with.
Right. No, they're
I mean,
not.
at most they give you 30, 40 seconds, and you're lucky if you get that much. All you got to have is 1 or 2 things that you have observed, and you fill that time.
Yeah, and it does.
And by the way, it's also news if the coach doesn't stop and talk to you.
Exactly.
True.
Yeah, that's news. That's a report right there. And you're right.
Well, he was so frustrated, he didn't want to stop and talk. And
He
I can
stormed
understand
off.
the frustration. It's not gone well for this team in the first quarter or the second half. Whatever.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is. So, yeah, that's not acceptable on any level. Look, I've been a reporter in times where, you don't have much to say. And I used to get so frustrated because it was what's the guy's name? We had one anchor who would come on, and he would take up all the information that I would normally have reported from the scene.
Wow.
And then I would be left with nothing. And I complained about it one time to Britt Hume, and Britt Hume said the following to me. He said, "You know what, Brian? Just one time I'll back you up if you say, nice recap of everything that I was going to say back to you."
Oh, I love that.
So you did?
No, I never did. I never had the guts. The guy who was worst about that was Shepard Smith. He was the worst about stealing everything you had in the field and then expect you to have something new. But this is on no level is that acceptable.
It's trash. Yeah, before she admitted to paraphrasing or maybe embellishing a couple of years ago, apparently on a podcast I'm reading. But then, just this week she admitted just full out.
Making it up.
Making it up.
Well, it's time now to put on your news hat because it's news time here on Super Talk 99.7.
.531, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 69 degrees, mostly clear night in Nashville. Full weather forecast, latest traffic report on the way in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, some breaking news. At least 10 people were exposed to an unknown substance at the Williamson County Jail last night. It's now known what that substance is. It's been come back tested positive for fentanyl. Among those 10, it was staffers, first responders, and inmates. Sheriff Dusty Rhodes said the investigation remains active, but is thankful